Hello, welcome to the Joe Cortez Show here in Las Vegas, Nevada, the entertainment capital of the world. Well, today is another good day because I have somebody very special as one of my guests, and he's not here in the studio with me, so we had to do a little Zoom call meeting with my friend, dear friend. We go back a number of years, and I remember he was just a special guy to be around with, great family man, great, beautiful children, beautiful wife, and Anthony Carello. Anthony Carello, welcome to the show, buddy. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm good, Joe. Nice to see you.
Yes, I see you. You know, Anthony, you don't change a bit. You still look young, except for still with that beautiful white beard that you didn't have back in the days
Yeah.
when we used to hang out together here in Las Vegas.
No.
You were here in Las Vegas with Phantom of the Opera, which was a great show.
That's correct.
That ran for about, what, 6 years in Las Vegas here?
6.5 years.
Six and a half
I
years.
was with it from 2006 to 2012 in Las Vegas.
2006, 2012. Man, that's amazing. I
And
tell
I
you,
was there on opening night, and I was there on closing night.
yeah, you was there opening night, closing night. Well, you know what? I was there, not the opening night, but I was there for the closing night. If you remember, we had a great little party afterwards.
Sure did.
We had a good time, and it was always fun to be with you and being with somebody so special. I remember one day we had it was my 70th birthday party at my house, and we went to my theater. If you recall, it was a full house, and
Yep.
we have a stage in the theater, nice real stage. And I said to everybody, well, you know, I want to thank you all for being here today. I want to thank you. But there's a friend in the house here who's going to be surprised 'cause I call you up on the stage with me. You came up. I said, Anthony, I know nobody's asked you this before, but for me, you got to do it for me because it is my birthday. So I want you to sing one of the songs that you sang at Phantom of the Opera, which you did. It was amazing.
It was music of the night. Nighttime sharpens, heightens each sensation. That was the number I sang on that night. I think you had just finished. I think you had a fight that night. You had to go and referee the fight, and then you came back to the house, and all the guests were there.
Yeah. That's right. We had a fight that night. Yep. But I'll tell you, it was always an honor having you there around with me because you're a good guy. You're a good friend. You've always shown you have a good heart, especially around with your family. Your family.
Joe, I got to say, you know, you have a beautiful family, and you are surrounded by a lot of wonderful, beautiful friends, and it was a pleasure and a privilege to be included in that group. And you know, I know so many of them are still friends of yours to this day, and I think, you know, it's a blessing to be a friend with you to this day.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll tell you, we could talk about my good friend, our dear friend who introduced us. That was Vinny Jarman, who was
Yeah, Vinny Tarosa.
he's the one that got us together, and Vinny also was an actor himself, and he was
That's right.
he played. Did he play in Crocodile Dundee with you in that movie?
He did. It wasn't. We were not in the same scene, and we met years later, and then he's just a wonderful guy. He's a great actor and just a beautiful human being.
Yeah.
And his survival work is as a TSA agent, and I happened to run into him in the airport. And Vin's got a great mind and a great eye.
Right.
And he saw me and he said to me, "I know you," and then he told me we were both in Crocodile Dundee too. And I said, "Oh my God, I couldn't believe it."
Yeah.
And I said, "I'm living in Vegas," and he came with his beautiful wife Lucy to come and see the show.
Right.
And then Vin introduced the two of us, and now Vin and Lucy are living in Las Vegas as well.
Yeah, I got him here. I got him in Vegas, and I got him on the Nevada State Athletic Commission. 'Cause he asked for
That's correct.
He asked for a transfer. I remember we went shopping for a home one Sunday afternoon. Him and I went out looking, and we got a house where he's at right now. And
Yeah,
he did a
nice
beautiful,
home.
yeah, he did a beautiful home. He refurbished it. Looks beautiful. And then
Yeah.
I made him. I introduced him to the boxing commission, and he's been in the specter ever since then. So
He is indeed for boxing and for MMA.
MMA and boxing, correct. He's more.
I see him on pay-per-view all the time.
All the time. He's on pay-per-view, he's on regular television all the time. I told him, Vinny, you're more on television now than you ever been when you were acting.
He's-
You know,
Me too, yeah.
and he still does a little acting here and there. You know, he played in.
yes.
I think the most recent one was Donovan. He did something with Donovan.
Ray Donovan.
Yeah, Ray Donovan. Yeah, he did something with that. And anyway, but here we are talking about my good friend Anthony Crivello. Anthony, tell me a little bit about you got a Tony Award back in 1993, and
That's correct.
You were for the play Spider Woman with Cheetah Rivera.
Kiss of the Spider Woman on Broadway with Cheetah Rivera. That's correct.
Yeah, that was that was a musical.
It was a musical by Cantor and Ebb with a book by Terrence McNally, and it was directed by the wonderful Hal Prince. And Hal Prince, that was the third time I was directed by Hal Prince. The first time I was Che in Evita on the road and then on Broadway. The second time was Kiss of the Spider Woman, first in Toronto, London, and then on Broadway. And the third time was Phantom of the Opera in Las Vegas.
Wow.
He's
Amazing.
a wonderful, God rest his soul. He was a wonderful man.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about, anybody come up with it, could bring you back again one day to Phantom of the Opera again? I mean, it was such a popular show.
It was indeed. You know, it is, and it's still running up. It's about to close on Broadway this coming year in 2023.
Wow.
So it might be a little bit too late. I know there's lots of tours, but you know, Joe, I've been blessed in my life. I work, as you know, all the time, and I have an abundance of work. So if it isn't Phantom, I'm sure it's, obviously it's been something else.
Yeah. You know, I like to see if we can go some of the photos of. If you want to talk over it, you can talk about some of these
Sure.
photos. Some photos I'm going to show up on the screen right now with my man here, Rick. He's going to hate. Oh, there's a photo of you and I back in the theater.
That was backstage. Yes, at the Venetian. The Phantom Theater was located in the Venetian.
In the Venetian.
Right on the strip there, and you had come. This was come to see one of the performances, and we used to do, as you recall, it was the show, and then they would have a tour, and I would give help to provide information for private tours sometimes, especially for my guests.
Yeah, I see you have your robe on, so you have just either before the show or after. This was after the show, I believe.
This is after the show. Yeah, I just got out of the makeup right there. Is what happened.
Yeah. And now they're putting out the makeup, and so it was a big thing. 'Cause they had to put a new face on you, right?
Exactly. It was prosthetic pieces that would fit over my forehead, on my cheek, and below my lip. A wonderful makeup artist in Las Vegas by the name of Ron Wild, who did the makeup. It would take 1 hour to put the prosthetic pieces on and do the full makeup, because you also have to put a skull cap on. So he'd have to prep my hair, put the skull cap on, and the pieces fit over that. And then they put on two different wigs. They would put two wigs on me as well. And then obviously from there you get into costume.
Unbelievable. Now, how long did it take to remove it?
It took about 20 minutes to take it off. About
20.
15, 20 minutes. I mean, we got it down to a science.
Okay, but before the show,
Because you can't rip that thing off. You've got to
Yeah.
slowly put
Yeah.
removers to take the glue and dissolve the glue, and then remove each piece, and obviously the head pieces as well.
you don't want to mess up that beautiful face, right?
Hopefully not.
Well, anyway, I tell you. So, tell us a little bit more of your experiences. Now, you and I, we were in New York. It was a play up there called Golden Boy, and
That is correct.
And there's a group of all of us there together with the.
Exactly. That was it was a wonderful star-studded cast. In the center of that photograph with the mustache is the wonderful friend. He's an actor, wonderful actor, Tony Shalhoub. And then over to it would be over to my, just off my shoulder on the left there is Tony has now been doing The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. You know, he's a multiple Emmy Award winner. Yvonne Strahovski is the one who's off my shoulder, and Yvonne is also on television and film a lot as well. Again, just it was a tremendous. I mean, I could go through that list of wonderful actors just in that photograph. In that photograph alone, there is 4 Tony Award winners.
4 Tony Award winners in that photo alone. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Now I remember that you asked me to speak to your cast before one of the shows there, because
because obviously it was Golden Boy. It was about boxing. Yeah, you know, in the Depression era, just after that, and with that storyline. When we did it. It was a Lincoln Center production that was done at the Belasco Theater, but we were rehearsing at Lincoln Center.
Lincoln Center.
And so, and the director Bartlett Shear we were doing some additional work, all kinds of things to make the experience and for the actors, and to just really immerse us in that whole world of boxing.
Right.
So we went to club fights in New York. The guys who were trained the boxers went into training, massive training. Obviously, we had stunt coordinator as well, but they were really doing the training for the boxing. And I happened to mention to Bart Shear that I was friends with Joe Cortez, and it just so happened you were coming into New York City at the same time. So you were gracious enough to come, and came with a boxing inspector from New York City,
Right.
and as well, and answer questions to the cast. You were with us for, oh God, it was close to 2 hours.
Yeah, yeah,
just doing like a lecture on boxing and the world of boxing.
I remember it was an experience for me because talking to a cast from Broadway, talking about boxing,
Yep.
which is all my
20
alley.
actors.
But they were actors, but I was doing the real thing. And I was telling
Yep.
your lead actor there, I was telling him about how it was to,
Seth Numrich.
Being what was his name again?
Seth Numrich was the lead, played Joe Bonaparte.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember telling him about in the real world of boxing, where punches are thrown, and you got to hit him with a punch, hit him with a punch, and you want those bones in that nose to go to the brains, hit him hard.
Right.
And he was looking at me like, "Oh my God!" I said, "Yeah, that's
Whoa,
the way."
man.
I said, "That's the way it is in the real world. They're out there to knock your head off, And he was like, "Wow." Then I remember sitting down watching the play with you in it, of course, and it was just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And, great. It was a great experience.
And I played the role of Eddie Fuseli, who is this. He's a gangster who's also a promoter. Gets involved with that fighter, and then sort of takes him under his wing, moves him away from his family because the role of Joe Bonaparte, he was a violinist, and then Tony Shalhoub played his father. So I become more the father figure, pulling him away, and it leads to conflict. And one of the bad things about it, you were just saying about that kind of violence. Here's a guy playing a violin, but now he's using his hands to make a living.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, as you know, Joe, guys fighting, they break bones in their hands.
Yeah, sure
That's
do.
the end of his violin career.
That's why my hands still hurt me today. As I get older, I can feel the pain in my hand. My doctor said, "Joe, that's one of the days when you were fighting, all those punches you were throwing."
Yeah. But I'm sure that obviously you're saying it, Joe. There's a residual effect to being an athlete like that, and specifically in the boxing world.
Well, it kept me going strong. After my COVID, when I got hit with COVID, and I refused to take the full count. As you well know, I was hospitalized.
Yes, I well know.
I was hospitalized for the 5 months, and I came back. I said, you know what? They're gonna take me down. I'm a fighter. I'm gonna go to the end. You gotta knock me out. And I never been knocked down in my whole career in boxing. I never touched the canvas. I said, I'm not gonna hit the canvas. I may hit the canvas with COVID, but I'm gonna get back up and I'm gonna win the fight. And you know what?
I'll tell you, Joe, your recovery is amazing. I mean, if I could share with your audience, Vin Gerosa, we were just speaking about, went to go see you, and and because of COVID, he was seeing you through a window,
Right.
because he told me,
Yeah.
and he said to me, Tone, he said, you should see Joe, man. He is really emaciated from that training, from that walking, because COVID just took your knees out. And it's amazing, Joe, how you've come back from that. As you said, 5 months of recovery, and as we all know, COVID is nothing, especially then, it's nothing to mess around with.
Right.
We need to all be vaccinated.
Yeah. Well, back in the day when I caught it, no vaccination was around yet, so I had to create my own immune system. I had to create the fighting in me to make sure I didn't.
You got it.
I saw the other side, but I guess God, the good Lord, said, Joe, we're not ready for you yet.
God bless.
You got a lot of things to do out there, and I think my last chapter of my life is going to be my best one.
In your case, Joe, as you said, I'm sure that whole what you did, being a fighter when you were young, and then obviously a Hall of Fame referee too. All of that comes into play with your fighting spirit.
Yeah.
And as you said, to never give up.
Yeah, you can't give up. All fighters, and I tell people in life in general, you can have good times and bad times, but don't give up. Always believe in yourself, and always say to yourself, I don't care what it is, I'm going to make it. No matter what, if you put anything in front of me, I'm going to make it. You got to be positive, be a positive thinker. Always believe in yourself. Believe that surround yourself with good people that are going to get you on the right track and make you feel the person you should. Sometimes we have the difficulties in life, but you know what? We try to make it better. I say at the end, everything, you can break things up, but you know I can always put them together and make it better second time around. And that's what I do with my life.
That's the truth.
I'm making it much better the second time around.
Yep, that's the truth.
Okay, let me go back a little bit to your days now. We did you got the Tony Award for the Spider Woman with Cheetah Rivera. How was it working with Cheetah Rivera?
Oh, she's a lovely person, and you know it was a very, very special time. You know, not only is she extremely talented, you know, and the latest things, she's won the Kennedy, she was awarded Kennedy Center honors, and et cetera, and, you know, multiple Tony Award winner as well. And she's just a good human being. She's not only is she, you know, then we throw around this term icon, but she really is an icon of the American theater, and as well as a standard for the Hispanic community, Puerto Rican community as well. You know, she's a trailblazer, starting from her early days when she was in West Side Story on Broadway,
right,
and then beyond that as well. I mean, she's a beautiful human being.
Yeah, she's still active today. She's in her 80s now.
She sure is.
And she's still
yes,
active.
I believe she's in her mid 80s.
Well,
yep.
They did the West Side Story recently, the movie, the musical, not too long ago, and she played a role in that as the grandmother.
No, that wasn't Cheetah. That was Rita Moreno.
That was Rita Moreno. I'm sorry.
And yes,
that's right. You're right.
But Cheetah was the original Anita in West Side Story on Broadway.
Right.
And again, that show was cutting edge at the time, trailblazing show.
Right.
And she had this wonderful, iconic role of this, you know, Puerto Rican Spitfire, and won a Tony. That was won a Tony for that, and then launched into other many projects, obviously on stage, but also television and film as well.
I mean, getting a Tony Award, I mean, to you, I mean, were you expecting that? Was that a surprise to you, or what? Because everybody knows you're a great actor. You did good. You were always so outstanding. I mean, I think you should have gotten a lot more after that.
Well, you know, there's a lot of, like your profession, there's a lot of talented people out there. And so the competition is very stiff. And that year there was heavy competition. We were in the same season with Kiss of the Spider Woman when the musical Tommy came out. And so we had a lot of direct competition with them. And the show just snuck in. We came in from London, and we got closed. The show kept running, but the cast was moved from London to Broadway, and we got in just under the wire for nominations. Got 11 Tony nominations, and we won 7 awards, including Cheetah won for Best Actress, Brent Carver won for Best Actor, and I won for Best Supporting Actor. So the three leads all won Tony Awards, and then we got other additional awards for production, et cetera, as well.
Unbelievable. I can see all those awards behind you there. You have a hell of a collection.
The history of my life and career.
That's your history there, and it looks like a museum behind it. So beautiful, all the great awards.
You know, I'm very fortunate. I mean, including right over there is on this side right there. There's a poster from Crocodile Dundee too, and you know, it's film, it's television. There's one off my shoulder over here, right there. That is Heather's the musical. That was the last musical that I did off Broadway.
Heather the musical.
Heather's, which was a movie, and then was it was a cult classic, and it was turned into a musical that ran off Broadway very successfully, and now it's been going all over the globe. Directed by Andy Fickman, and a wonderful production, and it's this younger generation. That's one of the musicals that they stand behind.
That's amazing.
And there's just a lot of other stuff in here as well. That's all lots of theater memorabilia.
Yeah, we could talk forever about all those awards you got back there.
Could.
And now you have a project coming up now with the with Disney project. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's a new Disney anthology series. It's a 1-hour comedic anthology called Pretty Freakin' Scary. It's produced by Corey Lunsford and Jessica Kaminsky, Loris Kramer Lunsford, and Ryan Westbrook. And the Disney's put it together as well. That photograph that you have up there right now, that's Dennis Cockrum. And Dennis plays a character named Theodore Snickering, and I am his sort of officious comedic butler named Sebastian. And so and there's a cast, a picture of the whole cast, a couple of cast members. Elena Sua is in that photograph. Eunice Kilbreg is in there as well. And the cast is just a wonderful group of kids and adults doing it, and it's really a wonderful, fun job to do. And Disney is very, very supportive. I've got a recurring role on it, so I've filmed 2 episodes. I film another episode in January, and they have 20 episodes that they have in the can. Right. And ready to go, and so then next year it'll air in 2023 on Disney and Disney Plus.
So Disney Plus, 2023. So,
yep.
we will be seeing a lot of you on television next year in the movies.
A little bit, pretty freaking scary.
That's good. I hope you get another Tony Award there. how about an Oscar? I'd like to see an Oscar maybe.
Well, I did an independent film in the middle of last year. I don't know that we'll be an Oscar contender. It was with a wonderful group of a young couple who were very, very creative. Joe Christofuli is it's based on, he's the writer and directed and starred in it. And his wife, Melissa, was the producer. And they put this thing together with a wonderful director of photography. And shot it. It was shot in Ithaca, New York, and also in Connecticut and in New York City. And it is a really interesting, wonderful role, and that's part of the reason I wanted to be involved in it. I play the lead character, the father of the lead character, and it's called Children of God, and it deals with life transitions in life and how we deal with when we get our knees taken out from underneath us, specifically with generations moving on. At the beginning of the movie, my mother is dying, and so I help my son sort of transition and explain things about life. And then in the middle of the film, there's another crisis which sends him spinning off, even after he has found a girl that he's attracted to, and you think the relationship's going to go from there. But it sends him off on spinning out of control until finally he comes all the way back and realizes the value of family and home and where his real roots are. So it's just a wonderful, and I should say, which is based on a real story, the character that I played is an ex-priest, and his father, his father was an ex-priest, and his mother was an ex-nun, and they met in the church, fell in love, left the church because they fell in love, but retained their faith. And so, and the children, they passed that on to the children about their faith. Wow. That's also part of the center core of it. And the interesting thing as well is a lot of the dialogue is in Sicilian and Italian. Right. And will be underside. So it's just a lot, there's a lot contained there. We're hoping to launch first in the European market and then eventually into the United States.
Now, that's your background, your heritage is Italian, right? You were born and raised. You were born in New York, right?
No, I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Milwaukee. And you ever live in New York?
Oh, I lived in New York for long periods of time. Yeah. I was there starting in the 80s, and I've gone back to live in New York. Okay. Yeah, I had a loft on 28th Street between 6th and 7th in the Fern Flower District for years.
I know the area very well. Yeah.
Right down the street from Madison Square Garden.
That's right. Well. Madison Square Garden is at 33rd Street and 8th. Close right down the street.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That was all part of my old neighborhood.
Yeah.
Joe, and I was in there. I was a pioneer. It was when it's not like Chelsea. That's where it is. Chelsea in New York, like it is today.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, Friday night on weekends it would close down, and it was an interesting existence. And I had a very nice place there, a loft that I had there for years. And I've gone back to New York for work, and I go back all the time to New York when we're calls it living now in Los Angeles. Yeah. But I always have a love affair with New York City. It's such a wonderful city. Chicago too. I love Chicago as well as Milwaukee, obviously.
Yeah, well, that's one of my memorable places, Chicago. That's when I went to the National Golden Glove Championships back in 1961. But
There you go.
You talked about Madison Square Garden. Madison Square Garden, the old one was on 51st Street and 8th Avenue, and that's where one night for the Eastern Golden Glove Championships, I knocked out two guys the same night in Madison Square Garden. And people have been looking.
I know you have a long history with that city, obviously.
People have been looking at the rest history book to see when did somebody knock out two opponents the same night. They can't find anybody. They say, well, Joe Cortez is the only one we have on record that knocked out two opponents. I mean, one guy, it was a tournament of champions. Every fighter in that tournament was a champion from the East Coast, their respective state. And I was a little young 17-year-old kid, and I ended up winning the national championships that year along with my brother Mike. And Mike was Mike Golden Boy.
Exactly.
Mike Golden Boy Cortez back in he was one of the original Golden Boys along when
I remember you shared all that information with the cast of Golden Boy too. That was so wonderful.
Yeah, that's right. Golden Boy, and that's when Sammy Davis with the musical Golden Boy. And then you guys had the play a Golden Boy.
Exactly.
Yeah, great.
Which actually preceded the original play of Golden Boy, preceded the musical, which was done, I believe it was with the early 40s and into the 50s with the group. It was called the Group Theater, and with a cast of wonderful actors, that time too. So that was the first time when I did it in 2012. That show had been revived with a cast of 19, as I say.
It's funny how boxing always seems to come back in all walks of life. Something always comes back with boxing. We go way back to the days when Jack Dempsey, Joe Louis, back in those days, and even before that with Jack Johnson, who was the first black heavyweight champion in the history of boxing. And then you have Jack Dempsey, Rocky Marciano, Floyd Patterson. It was just so many great heavyweights.
And even today, to the modern era, which is sort of like Muhammad Ali, and then into Foreman, Frazier, even into Mike Tyson too.
Right.
I mean, some of those champions. To be honest with you, Joe, I've always preferred the sweet science of boxing over MMA.
Yeah.
I think it's much the skill set that is involved with boxers and dedication. As we both know, it can be a brutal sport. But it's you're talking individual one-on-one competition, and obviously for rounds and rounds. It's a very, very difficult sport.
Yeah, I was looking into history books the other day. One of the longest fights in boxing history lasted 110 rounds. 110 rounds, and it took 7 hours for that fight.
And who fought that fight?
I don't recall offhand, but I was just reading the history.
John Sullivan?
No, they're way before that. But it was fights that when they first started out, that was one that they have in the history books. If you look on, you can Google it, the longest fight in boxing history. And it was 110 rounds that it took 7 hours. Can you imagine? They must have been standing still for 5 minutes before they threw a punch because to last 7 hours.
I mean, yeah. How can your arms stay up that long?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm 2 minutes of shadow boxing and I'm exhausted.
Exactly. Well, I'll tell you that. But boxing is a great sport. But of course, the most popular entertainment in the world is what you're doing in the acting. You entertain the world of all walks of life. I go to foreign countries. I go to Japan, Korea, Germany, and they have the movies that you're talking about that you've been in. They have them, and they dub it down with the interpret with the wording.
Whether subtitles or dubbing it in.
Subtitles, or they speak it in their language. And I watch movies where you were talking in Japanese and talking in Korean and talking in German. It's amazing when you go to these foreign countries. You sit down and watch TV. You see these old movies, but it's a great experience.
And, Joe, just like you said about boxing and what it's done for you, taking you all over the globe. I've been very fortunate that my work has taken me, to London, Sofia, Bulgaria, to Calgary, to Toronto, to across the country. I've been very, very lucky that way to have worked in a myriad of places and get to experience those different cities around the globe. It's a real blessing.
Well, I can tell you, Anthony, it's an honor having you on the show today. I mean, it's not every day I get Anthony Carrillo on the show to talk about your history, your beautiful life that you've had in acting. And we wish you the very best. And we wish all our fans and yourself a happy and a healthy new year. God bless. We see you guys next week. Take care, Anthony.
Thank you so much, Joe. God bless. Happy New Year.
Keep your guards up at all times, brother.
Oh, yeah, Joe.
All right.